You told me to hit the stream. I hit it.
Oh, boy. It's probably off now. From Studio 6B on a Friday night. Glad you're in. January 31st. Slick Rick is going to be doing sports. Rick Delgado is going to be doing the news. Aaron and Fran holding it down as always. Boys, how are you? Slick Rick, how are you?
Doing good, Big D. What's going on?
Welcome back. How was your event last night?
Fantastic. It was great. We raised money for a great cause. Had a good time. Sorry I missed the show, but it was the right thing.
All right, very good. I'm sure it was. I'm glad you had a good time. Rick Delgado is going to do some news. Mr. Delgado, how are you?
I am very well. I'm even better now that I know that you're sick and you're home. So then I won't get sick.
No, I'm not sick. I'm just not feeling 100%, and I didn't want to get you sick, so I was thinking more of you.
No, you weren't. You were thinking of yourself. You're like, you know what? I got my big fuzzy slippers on. I don't want to take them off and go outside. It's raining. I don't want to have to drive. I'll just park my caboose here in the chair and do it from home and say I'm sick. Slick and I already had this conversation. We know what's going on.
Don't rope me into this.
You know what? You know what it was? It's because of the damn cigars. He wanted to make sure he could smoke out a cigar. See, he's smiling. He's laughing because he knows he's busted. He is so
I'm just
busted.
looking to see if my mics were hot today during the day. You heard all this.
Wow.
No, I left the mic and camera on in here in the studio today? What's going on?
That's a smoke show.
That is a smoke show. That's exactly right, Slick. That's all Delgado does is put up a smoke show. So
that's exactly right.
You. Yeah. You with the cigar and the ascot and the smoker's jacket. You probably got your little Hugh Hefner smoker jacket going on over there that you just took off.
If I'm going to be honest with you, and I have to be honest as I always am, I haven't even had one of these beautiful Freedom cigars yet because I haven't had a chance to go to I haven't gone to the cigar club, and it's been terrible. I can't smoke it outside when it's 5 degrees. It's not enjoyable.
All right, just checking.
So I haven't even had one yet. So that's the truth of it. But I will this weekend. Well, I wish we could start the show on better news.
Yeah, right.
But we can. But we have to. There's been another plane crash, and
this one in Philadelphia.
I'm just seeing from the New York Post, so I'll take it from there. Fireball erupts after small medevac jet crashes in dense Philadelphia neighborhood. Multiple casualties reported. A small medevac jet crashed near the Roosevelt Mall in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania on Friday, causing a massive explosion that lit up the night sky, setting multiple homes ablaze. Oh, the people on the ground. According to reports and video, a Learjet 55 carrying 2 passengers had just departed from Northeast Philadelphia Airport, was headed to Springfield Branson National Airport in Missouri when it crashed around 6:30 p.m., the Federal Aviation Committee told the Post. And I mean, this information is preliminary, subject to change. A spokesperson for the FAA told the Post, adding that the agency will investigate, obviously with the NTSB. The plane reportedly went down near Cottoman Avenue and Roosevelt Boulevard, just over 3 miles from the airport, caused a large fire explosion that set multiple homes, and I believe the reporting is, unfortunately, multiple people as well on fire. Multiple casualties have been reported. Video footage captured heavy smoke in the area with debris sprawled in the parking lot of the mall as local police and fire responded to the scene. According to footage captured by Fox 29, other footage obtained by Fox 29 captured a large fireball erupting after the plane nosedived. And man, I shared some footage on our X that's been out there already. And man, I mean, I know it says it's only 3 miles from the airport, and I think this thing had just literally taken off. But man, this thing comes in.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks like a missile strike coming down into Philadelphia. It's coming down so fast. Have you seen it?
Yeah, well, I posted a bunch on my X Twix account as well, just multiple angles because so many people caught this on whether it's their Ring doorbell. There's one phenomenal one from a Ring doorbell.
Guy just walking outside.
Yeah, walking out the door. Then you had multiple different angles from people with their dash cams, just catching this thing falling out of the sky, and not falling out of the sky like you described, like a missile, like it was shot straightward.
Well, she got the video
straight down into the ground. We got one of the video clips that you posted here. Let me make sure I do this correctly here. Hold on.
Yeah, it says, while you're getting that ready, I'll just continue here. We are offering all the Commonwealth resources. They respond to the small private plane.
Wow.
I mean, look at that thing right there coming down. Look at that thing. I mean, it just looks like like footage like that you see out of Israel. These missiles coming. It just looks like a missile coming.
Like that. Yeah, it does. You're right. It's a good description of that. That's what it looks like.
We'll continue to provide.
Go ahead.
We'll continue to provide updates as more information is available. The latest crash comes just days after the obviously horrific mid-air collision in D.C. that took the lives of 67 people. Now another 2 on this plane today and multiple people on the ground. So just horrific set of circumstances here. And these 2, we haven't had, I mean, we just were saying how we haven't had any of these kind of plane accidents, especially like obviously the one over D.C. But now this tragic accident here tonight, again, we don't know the details, but another 2 people have lost their lives on this plane, multiple people on the ground. Man, not the way Sean Duffy, I think, thought his first 4 days were going to go.
Yeah, definitely not. And a lot of people on the ground, with their phones out as well, capturing some of the scenes down there. We can't play because some of them are just, quite frankly, they're freaking out, and I don't blame them. I mean, how often do you see something like this happen right in the middle of the city where it just comes down and smashes into homes, and there's debris all over roadways. And like you read from the report as well, some people catching fire.
Yeah, just a terrible situation. So we'll monitor that obviously throughout the night and see what other information breaks during our 2 hours here. Some other news that just happened, obviously President Trump, who signed some executive orders today, welcomed Doug Burgum, Secretary of the Interior, now officially confirmed into the Oval Office. And man, he did another 35 minutes with the press.
Yeah.
Today, taking questions. I've got some of the highlights of the questions and answers that he gave. It was really almost a press conference for the girl from NBC. I mean, she seemingly asked, I think she asked 80% of the questions. He just kept letting her go, and she just kept going, another one. She kept interrupting him. I mean, it was really like her own one-on-one press conference. I think she asked 4 of the 6 questions. But he gave some interesting answers on tariff. I mean, here's everybody thinking, well, tariffs is a negotiation tool. He's going to use it as a negotiating tool. He's not really going to. Well, that's not quite.
Yeah. And
I just watched Gordon Chang on with Grant Stinchfield before us. And Grant asked him about what you want to see, this obviously the first 100 days, but let's talk about the first 10 have been a whirlwind. He said something to him to the effect of, what else, are you looking forward to? And he said, tariffs. And I was thinking, well, Gordon's got to be happy tonight because the president's going to start laying them on heavy starting tomorrow.
Yeah. But from what I understand, Slick, did you say that now from what you're hearing that has been put off about the tariffs?
I heard that from Canada. The tariffs were put off for 1 more month today. I was informed.
I don't
believe that's accurate. The president just gave, I think he said maybe on oil. I think on oil, the oil tariffs they may be waiting a little extra to put tariffs on the oil, and he says they may reduce them. We have the clips. We have some time right now, Aaron. Yeah. Right? Let's go cut 1. This is on the tariffs in the Oval Office today. Roll that.
Mr. President, is there anything China, Canada, and Mexico can do tonight to forestall your implementation of tariffs tomorrow?
No, nothing. Not right now, no.
Not a negotiating tool?
No, it's not. No, it's a pure economic. We have big deficits with, as you know, with all three of them. And in one case, they're sending massive amounts of fentanyl, killing hundreds of thousands of people a year with the fentanyl. And in the other two cases, they're making it possible for this poison to get in, number one. And number two, we have big deficits, and it's something we're doing, and we'll possibly very substantially increase it. We're not. We'll see how it is, but it's a lot of money coming to the United States. As you know, we have about a $200 billion deficit with Canada, getting close to $200 billion. They've treated us very unfairly. And I say, why should we be subsidizing Canada? It's wonderful. I have so many friends in Canada. It's a great place.
Is there a concession
But,
you're looking for, sir?
No, we're not looking for a concession, and we'll just see what happens. We'll see what happens. And with Mexico, it's the same thing. We have a $250 billion deficit, and we have a lot of people coming into the border, and now we've largely stopped that, but we've stopped that ourselves. I think they've done a fantastic job. You've seen the numbers, they've dropped to almost zero. But we've suffered under the past administration for years and years. We've suffered with millions of criminals coming into our country. Criminals, people from jails from all over the world. They come through Mexico, and they come through Canada too. A lot of them come through Canada, and a lot of fentanyl comes through Canada, and China makes the fentanyl. China makes the fentanyl, gives it to Mexico, puts it through Canada, puts it through different places, mostly Mexico, but also a lot through Canada. And so all three haven't treated us very well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Not looking for any concessions. We're just doing it.
Yep.
That was the part that stuck out to me. We're not looking for concessions. To go, everybody who said, oh, he's going to use them as a tool, he's going to use them to, negotiate, he's going to use them to get concessions on things. Well, if he is, he's not starting out that way. He's saying, no, we're just going to put them on. And on top of what's already there, by the way. And we're going to increase them. And then I'm going to do oil in a month from now, even though I may reduce that to 10%, but I'm going to do that. And later on, he talked about the European Union, how terrible he thinks we've been treated from them. He's going to look at them. So it's exactly what Gordon Chang said to Grant Stinchfield tonight. Tariffs, tariffs, tariffs. You get a tariff, you get a tariff, you get a tariff, and you get a tariff.
Now, let me ask you this. Do you think this is kind of setting the table for what he had talked about last week that he alluded to about the IRS?
Well, he again walked right up to the line. I think I watched every second of this interview, so I don't think I missed anything. He walked kind of right up to the line, but didn't say it again. He said, we were the richest. This country was the richest we had ever been when we did all tariffs. And then he said we went to this income tax, and he paused and he went, which was, he says it was fine, but. So again, he hasn't come right out and said, I am going to repeal the income tax, at least that I've heard yet directly. But everything he's hinted at, everything he talks about, I think everything how he feels on tariffs as opposed to the income tax and the gold standard and the dollar, it seems like that's the direction he's leaning, but I haven't heard him really say it definitively. He's danced around it. Right. He's mentioned it. He's hinted at it, but he hasn't said, I'm doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. We'll see what happens because it's it's an interesting subplot to all of this, especially when you consider he's talking about this stuff in the first 10 days of his new administration. Gives him plenty of time to implement it.
All right, live from Studio 6B, just getting started. Glad you're in. If you're in the chat, we're coming in. See you right now. We'll do news and sports all when we get back right after this. So, Fran, I couldn't hear the opening music, can't hear any of the music. I did hear the clip once you did whatever you did, but I've got no music in and out, and I couldn't hear the intro video.
All right, let me check that. I do know that the clips are because those are split audio. The press is on one channel, the president is on another, so I have to pan those manually.
Okay.
Now, do you want me to sing to you? Would that help?
Absolutely not. I'd rather hear silence.
All right.
So you didn't hear the music I just played?
Nope, I heard nothing.
Big D, are you familiar in the YouTube chat about the member requests? If someone wants to request to become a member, are you familiar with that at all?
No. Somebody sent in, I think it was Child of the King, asked me to turn on gifting memberships. It's not available to us. I looked into it the day I saw it. I don't know how to gift memberships. I don't see it. I looked up the directions, what they said, what to do, and I think it's only been rolled out to certain accounts or certain channels. I don't know. I can't see that we have it available.
All right, so we've been dismembered. Yeah.
I mean, you can become a member, but she wants to gift memberships to other people, which is very nice. I don't see where we can do it.
Okay. Tell me if you hear this. No? Audio is being sent to you, so I don't know why you're not hearing music. If you're hearing me, you should be hearing music.
I'm hearing you.
1, 2. It's all the same audio channel. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2.
I'm not hearing any music.
Broke Spoke wants to know if he can get a hoodie membership. Is that available? Hoodie membership?
Noise cancellation
it may be a Skype setting on your end. I don't know what would do that. I'm not even noise gating my return to you.
Automatically adjust microphone settings is off. Noise cancellation is off. Nothing.
But you can hear me, and this is all the same pipeline to you.
I hear you fine. I hear no music, though.
And if I talk and play music underneath, you're not hearing that underneath my voice? 1, 2,
no,
1,
but your voice definitely sounds worse, but I don't hear the music. It's all right.
Yeah, I think it's something on your end that Skype is doing.
All right, 17 past the hour, live from Studio 6B on a Friday night, January 31st. I want to send a big happy birthday out to my friend Stu Feiner. Stu the Source from Barstool Sports. It's his birthday today. So I want to send a big shout out to crazy Stu the Source Feiner, friend of mine now for a long, long time. Was actually in my wedding party. And now, of course, he's a huge, big deal over there at Barstool with Big Cat and Dave Portnoy. They do a show together, Barstool Sports Advisors. Of course, Stu, his original show was the Sports Advisors. And in my early sports gambling days was spent with Stu, and it's his birthday today. So happy birthday to Stu. He's been on the show before, by the way. Slick is going to do sports. Delgado's got the news. We're covering this, obviously, horrific again. Plane crash of a private plane, a Learjet 50, went down in a suburban neighborhood in Philadelphia. So we're tracking that, obviously, to see what other news comes out for the rest of the night. Obviously, we're still dealing with what happened over D.C. a couple nights ago. We'll have a clip from the president's press conference today in the Oval Office. He addressed that coming up, as well as more on tariffs and what's to come. And also reducing the federal workforce. The president gave a very interesting answer on that as well. So we'll get to all those clips plus the news. But right now, let's do some sports. Sports is brought to you by Mike Lindell, MyPillow. LFS6B is the promo code to use if you want to shop at MyPillow. All the great stuff from Lindell. Slickster, what's going on?
All right, let's get to the scoreboard. Big D, NCAA men's basketball. Right now we have Georgetown leading Butler 64-57. 5 to go there in the second half. 15 to go in the second half. St. Louis right now trailing Dayton 44-35. Akron 58-35 over Kent State. 16 to go there in the second half. And with about 14 to go in the first, just underway, Purdue leads Atlanta 11-10. Final from earlier today, little Ivy League action. Yale 77-70 over Princeton. To the ice we go. NHL, Predators and Sabres tied at 2, up in Buffalo, end of 1. Mid-first period, we have the Canucks and Stars, no score there. Blues taking on the Avalanche out in Colorado. That would be a 9 p.m. puck drop. And also a 9 p.m. puck drop is the Blue Jackets and Utah Hockey Club out west. NBA action right now. Clippers over the Hornets, 53-48 at the half. Also at the half, the Pistons lead the Mavericks, 62-58. And the Nuggets lead the Sixers, 41-36. 10 to go there in the second quarter. Let's shoot over to a quick story or two. We got the Kansas City Chiefs announced no Super Bowl rally after 2024 shooting. Remember that unfortunate incident last year? Well, they made an announcement today. Orr Hawkins of Breitbart reporting, if the Kansas City Chiefs win the Super Bowl in February, there will be no rally for the public like the one following the team's 2024 win, where a shooting occurred that left 1 dead and more than 20 injured. Fox 4 KC reported that if the Chiefs win the big game, they will opt for an exclusive gathering at Arrowhead Stadium for players, their families, Missouri Governor Mike Kehoe, and Kansas City Mayor Quentin Lucas. Afterwards, players will gather at Crown Center to stage for a parade route that is designed to minimize crowd density. The decision for this celebratory approach was reached on Thursday. Fox 4 KC noted that a shootout occurred at last year's post-victory public rally, leaving Lisa Lopez dead and more than 20 others injured. Breitbart News reported to a PBS report on February 14, 2024, shooting which said 12 people brandished firearms and at least 6 people fired weapons at the rally. Chiefs defensive end Charles Omenihu reported to the shooting by claiming guns are too easy to get in the United States and calling for more laws. Omenihu did this before any information about the public of the number of guns involved with the public. However, those guns were acquired and the ages and identities of the alleged shooters also. Omenihu did not mention that California, the state with the most stringent gun controls in the country, led the nation in active shooter incidents in 2021 and 2023. So Chiefs just trying to be a little proactive, get ahead of that. And, one thing they got to do, they got a tall order. They have to go and beat the Philadelphia Eagles. So we'll see what happens there. Right now, I am leaning towards the Eagles. That is my favorite. A lot of Super Bowl talk next week coming up, obviously. Pro Bowl on Sunday. No big deal. They're playing flag football, these guys grabbing flags, but still good to see the Pro Bowl players out there. Some say that's the best action of the whole 2 weeks anyway, but we shall see. Looking forward to the Super Bowl in Louisiana coming up next Sunday. That's a wrap in sports, Big D. Back to you.
What did you say a couple sentences ago in the Super Bowl? You're leaning what?
I'm leaning towards Philly, so you're putting a lot of money on Kansas City. You just put your mortgage on the Chiefs, I hear.
All right, Slick, very good. Sports is brought to you by Mike Lindell. LFS6B is the promo code to use. I'll have to be rethinking my Super Bowl pick, but we'll see. Slick's going to get hot. Slick's going to get hot at some point. So
yeah, it's called 2025.
It is 2025.
Well, yeah. I mean, this
starts now, bud.
Okay, good.
Right.
I got the Super Bowl. I always pick the Super Bowl, right?
He meant 21-25.
Yeah. Let's go.
All right, we'll do some more sports for the end of hour 1, and then, of course, in hour 2. Let's do some news. Do you have any news, Delgado, on what Richard Grenell's been doing in Venezuela? Because I see reports tonight that there's 6 American, I guess they were hostages, being brought back home from Venezuela. Richard Grenell was just there. He was just with the president in California. Is there any news about what this, kind of the news around who these 6 are and what the deal was?
All right. Well, a little bit on that. This is coming from Fox News. It says here, according to this, President Trump's envoy for special missions, who you just mentioned, Rick Grenell, traveled to Venezuela to deliver a message to socialist dictator Nicolas Maduro. So he basically went there to lay down the law, I think, about accepting violent criminals deported from the United States. On a call with the reporters earlier today, Mauricio Claver Cerrone, the U.S. Special Envoy to Latin America, said Grenell will tell Maduro to take back all the Venezuelan criminals and Tre de Aragua gang members that have been exported to the United States and to do so unequivocally and without condition. Basically, like I said, he's laying down the law. Grenell will also demand that Venezuela immediately release American hostages being held in that country. According to Cavone, the trip focuses on 2 very specific issues: that we expect the Venezuelan criminals and gangs to be returned as they are to every country in the world without condition, and 2, that American hostages need to be released immediately, unequivocally, without question. That's basically it. He says it's not a negotiation. There's no exchange going on. It's not a quid pro quo. This is what they expect. And, as we've seen, come to learn from Rick Grenell, he's a pretty good carrier of the message. So
yes, he is.
That's what's going on there.
Okay. All right. Let's do some other news. And here with that, obviously, as he's already started, is Rick Delgado. What else is going on?
Well, of course, the Democrats are still losing their minds because they're crazy all the time. That even includes Hakeem Jeffries. I don't know if you caught this, what he was talking about. Of course, taking to the streets, I believe, is the phrase that he used. Democrat Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, the Democrat out of New York, facing blowback after calling for supporters to fight Donald Trump's agenda, not only legislatively, but in the streets. Here's the clip where he says it himself. Cut number 5, Hakeem Jeffries.
We are going to fight it legislatively. We are going to fight it in the courts. And we're going to fight it in the streets.
Yeah. Basically calling for violence. The message does not seem to be new, mirroring similar messaging from House Democrats during the House Democratic Caucus virtual emergency meeting this week, discussing ways to oppose Trump's MAGA agenda. So instead of figuring out a way to maybe do the best they can for their constituents, to maybe try and get some popularity and maybe win some elections, they decided, hey, let's go all in on being jerk-offs and let's promote violence. Why don't we? Let's get out there and announce it on TV that we're going to announce violence and fight in the street. Yeah,
well, the Democrats have always counted on their kind of violent street militia to take to the streets. That's what they've always done. So, sometimes, again, like we talked about the Republicans last night, the dog returns to its vomit. The Democrats return to their violent, that's what they know.
Yeah. It's amazing.
All right, live from Studio 6B, we'll do some more news when we get back on a Friday night right after this.
Hey, Dame, have you found any other clips you want to make sure that we play? Posted them to the Twitter?
Nothing yet.
Okay. In the chats. Let's see what's going over on all the Rumblers. There's a lot of, I see a lot of color on some of these Rumble chats. I wonder what that means. Some are highlighted in red. If anybody knows what that means, let me know.
KDJ has a comedy gig tonight. That's why he's not here. Those of you who are asking where he is.
Where is he? What do we know what city he's in? No.
He's at Parks Casino, I believe, tonight.
Really?
Or is that Pennsylvania or Connecticut?
Well,
Pennsylvania. Parks is Pennsylvania. Unless he was there 2 weeks ago and he's someplace else tonight.
You have a membership there?
He told me 2 nights he couldn't make were tonight and then 2 weeks ago.
Right.
Patty Jam Cat says, Damon, you look thinner today. Damon, help us. Fran is playing some metal, Dolly Parton metal mixed with Dolly Parton. I can't hear it, so I don't know.
No, I don't think that's the case.
Yeah, I just did a Skype test on my phone, and it isn't letting music through, so Skype changed something. I got to figure out why, because that's going to be problematic.
All right. Julia, Child of God. Bacon was tonight's covering on the pizza that Damon missed.
Yeah. Full-blown bacon.
Full-blown, all bacon.
All bacon.
Oh, boy.
Damon, are you home? Yes, I'm in the home studio, yes.
Yeah. Friend of mine already texted me, my buddy Ray. He's like, is Damon okay? He looks like has a different background. I says, well, very astute. They know you're in a different house there. That's amazing. They're right on it, Big D.
They are on it.
And we notice you dress a little nicer when you're at home with the polo sweatshirt on. Ooh, excuse you.
You know, Delgado, you're going to make
Delgado's
me actually
idea of
drive in
designer
there.
clothing.
Hey, Slick was the one that pointed it out even before the show started. He's like, oh,
Yeah,
what he's wearing tonight.
I know. Slick's throwing me under the bus every turn he can.
I never.
And then he tries to be secretive about it. He thinks I don't know about his little text to you during the show and everything else he does.
I don't text him during. I rarely text him.
He's
during
a little
the show.
weasel.
I'm a weasel.
That's what he is.
Oh my God. Weasel. Wow.
A weasel.
Man, oh man.
Dave.
Live from Studio 6B on the 31st, last day of the month, first month of the year. Boy, it went fast. January 31st is here on a Friday night. Real America's Voice and across the airways of 103.9 LI News Radio. Glad you're all in. Slick's doing sports. Delgado's doing some news. We'll do more of both here coming up in a second. I just want to get back because I want to stay on tariffs because markets reacted today. And markets actually closed obviously at 4:00 before President Trump even did his presser in the Oval Office. But obviously, as it came to be known that this was not going to just be a veiled threat, that these tariffs were going to go into place tomorrow, markets reacted, finished in the red. And then, of course, President Trump took to the Oval Office to welcome Doug Burgum, did a press conference. Media was in there, asked about 35 minutes worth of questions. Let's go cut 2. This is a follow-up to the first part we played on tariffs. President Trump was asked, is he concerned about pricing to the American people, given that one of the reasons he was elected was to bring prices down? And, of course, the argument is on tariffs, you really are the ones who pay the increase, not the country who's shipping the goods to us. So let's go cut 2, and then I'll have a little more on this as well. Roll that, Aaron.
Sir, can I ask you about your meeting with NVIDIA? What did you talk about, and do you think you need to ban more of the chips that they're selling to China?
Well, he's a great gentleman, and I hadn't met him. He's the biggest in the world in terms of chips. And I can't say what's going to happen with it. We had a meeting. It was a good meeting. But eventually we're going to put tariffs on chips. We're going to put tariffs on oil and gas. That'll happen fairly soon. I think around the 18th of February. And we're going to put a lot of tariffs on steel. We already have tariffs on steel, and we've saved our steel industry, but that was relatively small compared to what it'll be. But we're going to be putting tariffs on steel and aluminum and ultimately copper. Copper will take a little bit longer. And that'll happen pretty quickly. It'll mean it'll be a great boost for our steel industry. It'll make our steel industry very strong. If I didn't put the tariffs on years ago on steel, which actually Biden left because there was so much money that they couldn't do anything about it, we would have lost. We wouldn't have one steel mill in this country if I didn't do that. We saved the steel industry. So it was an honor to do it. And I think the people that love me most in the whole world are people that make steel. But we're going to be putting sometime this month, next month, we're going to be putting tariffs on steel and aluminum. And we'll give you an announcement as to what the exact date is. But it'll be a tremendous amount of money for our country, a tremendous amount. These are big numbers. And in addition to that, and you see the power of the tariff. I mean, the tariff is good. And nobody can compete with us because we have by far the biggest piggy bank. And so that'll take place very quickly. But also we'll be doing pharmaceuticals. And to bring our industry back, we want to bring pharmaceuticals back to the country. And the way you bring it back to the country is by putting up a wall. And the wall is a tariff wall. We were the richest country in the world. We were at our richest from 1870 to 1913. That's when we were a tariff country. And then they went to an income tax concept, and, you know, how did that work out? It's fine. I mean, it's okay, but would have been very much better. So we'll be doing pharmaceuticals, importantly, and drugs, medicines, etc., all forms of medicine and pharmaceuticals. And we'll be doing, very importantly, steel. and we'll also be doing chips and things associated with chips.
Yeah.
So you see what I mean, Delgado? Walks kind of right up to the line, but doesn't really fully commit to what his thoughts are on the federal income tax, and obviously the IRS. We've heard a little bit about the agents that Biden hired. President Trump says he'll send them to the border. Now he says, well, maybe I don't need them at the border because now we've tackled the border and the numbers are way down, so maybe I don't need them at the border. So he's kind of just dancing all around it. I'm sure we're going to get a definitive here at some point from him on this income tax thing and what he thinks. I think once the tariffs are in place, and we'll see.
Yeah, it would be an interesting. It would definitely be an interesting topic, and interesting to see which Congress members, senators and representatives, start freaking out, saying, "No, we need to keep taking everybody's money," because that'll really expose exactly what you're dealing with, and maybe take some of the gloss off of some of these people that just keep getting voted in year after year after election after election. And then people scratching their head going, how come everything still sucks? Because the people you keep sending back still suck. They haven't changed. But it's also interesting, Damon, that he keeps referencing history, and he has those dates. And he keeps, throwing those out there to make sure people know about it, which I think, probably a lot of people start to, at least I did, start looking this up like, all right, how did we do back then? And how did, and you start looking into how things evolved and when the income tax came into play and what was behind it and everything. I think it's going to, slowly, I think it's going to gain some more traction and more attention.
Yeah. Now, it is worth discussing a couple things I was reading today, because a lot of conservatives are not huge fans of tariffs. I think they tolerate them now more because they want to see how President Trump's going to use them, since he seems to be such a big fan. But most conservatives, going back in history, we're not fans of tariffs because it's just another tax on the people. At least that's always been the argument. And so there's a couple of articles today that I think are worth paying attention to, because I do think it could be a risky kind of end game for the president to be doing this. And that's specifically, The Spectator today has a piece called "Tariffs Will Test Donald Trump's Confidence." And it's basically saying that even though no one can really be surprised that he's pushing ahead with this, it is really kind of an end game for the president, who promised the American people, yes, both tariffs, but he also promised cheaper goods at the same time and lower prices. Before the election, those close to Team Trump were always in a hurry to say that tariffs are negotiating tactics, a threat that in the best case scenario can lead to changes that allow for even more trade. This follows on from the president's thinking in his first term, where tariffs were used less frequently than he originally suggested, but yet still used to get countries to change the terms of trade agreements or up their defense spending, which is what the president wanted. That's what he always says. They're just taking advantage of us. They're not spending. They need to do better. They were not really used in the way that Trump's now Vice President J.D. Vance makes the case to protect the American industry from fierce competition, which allows them to charge consumers more than they otherwise could. It's also no surprise that the Wall Street Journal reports today that the White House is still trying to find the quote-unquote off-ramps to make tomorrow's tariff announcement a little less extreme. Well, you didn't get that sense from the president today in the Oval Office whatsoever. I mean, he was asked directly if you're looking for concessions. He said, no, we're not looking for any concessions. We're just doing it. This could include selective taxes on certain goods, which avoid products that would see costs quickly spike for American consumers, or leave America reliant on far less friendlier providers, which would explain any decision to exclude oil from the 25% hit, which the president said he is going to do. If the tariffs are imposed, the game of chicken then begins. Trump is counting on these countries to make concessions under the weight of the tariffs, prioritizing access to the U.S. market over almost any other calculation. But for how long will Trump be able to keep tariffs in place without Americans noticing that prices are drifting to the up? Having won the election in due part due to the cost of living crisis and pinning inflation on the Biden administration, any secondary round of price hikes, even smaller ones, you would think are not going to be warmly welcomed by the American people. Trump supporters could be the most critical. So I do think it's obviously it's an interesting strategy, whether it's, end game or not. Usually when you think about tariffs, you associate it with higher prices for goods that you end up paying for.
Right.
Yep.
So it will be interesting to see how they walk the line here on these.
Yeah.
What do you think, Delgado? Anything?
Because I'm reading some of the different thinking on the tariffs, and you nailed three of them right in a row there, with the side effect being those unwanted higher consumer prices. But again, the key takeaways, and Trump talks about it all the time, is to raise revenue and protect domestic industries like the steel industry that would not exist. According to him, if not for the tariffs placed on those other countries trying to dump their cheap steel into this country and put us out of business. And we all know, as part of national defense, you need a steel industry because you need to build stuff if you need to ever go to war. And I think that's part of the overall plan here is to, and he's talked about it, a ton of times. Be prepared, basically make us the strongest nation on earth. And to do that, you have to be able to be a country that builds. And if we don't have a steel industry and other industries in our borders where we can just rely on them if something happens, then we're not the strongest that we can be. And maybe it's a short-term loss in terms of higher prices, but the overall, comes out, it's longer-term thinking, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I think, tomorrow is kind of a self-imposed deadline that the president and them, and obviously the president's team has put on, which obviously I guess he's thinking is supposed to kind of, as he said today in the Oval Office, Canada, Mexico cracking down on illegal immigration, cracking down on drugs, cracking down on importing of fentanyl. He obviously brings China into the mix. He says there's going to be more announcements there as well. Trump's talking about an additional 10% tax on imports until China makes major changes to how they do business. So I think he's trying to give himself as much flexibility as he can, but obviously still stick to the time of taking advantage of us and running us over is over. And I'm not going to be too flexible here to start until I see some changes. But again, it does seem like it is a hardball tactic that, listen, could the Federal Reserve didn't lower interest rates for a reason. And I know the president's not a huge fan of the Federal Reserve, and he's certainly not a fan of not lowering interest rates quicker. But I believe the Federal Reserve is not lowering interest rates because I think he thinks that there could be another secondary round of spike of inflation. And I don't think they see their 2% target in the future. And I think quantitative tightening is still going to continue. And I think the Fed thinks that I wouldn't be surprised if the Fed didn't lower rates until maybe the summer start again.
Right. Well, you know what?
Which is also not good for the consumer. It's not good for, mortgage rates have come down a little bit. Credit card interest rates are still sky high. Most things that affects are still, people are still really feeling it.
Well, you know what? This was what happened in his first term as well. We didn't start to see the benefits of everything until probably well after year 2 it started. When you talk about that, and also another takeaway from tariffs is employment, because employment's going to spike as these domestic industries start to ramp up production because they have to.
All right, live from Studio 6B on a Friday night. We'll do some more sports news with Delgado coming up right after this.
Dan? We're in the chat. Yeah, I was just trying to get some clarity on Milton Friedman's thoughts on tariffs. But then you start to think about this, Damon. If prices do go up, does that give him another? Again, you talk about eliminating the income tax. Well, if people have more money in their pocket because the government isn't taking it anymore, is that where it gets made up?
It looks like, if this is correct, this is from Anthony Sabato Jr., who we've had on the show before. He's reporting that he shared something on Twitter that today, approximately 7:25, a jet rescue air ambulance experienced a crash. The aircraft crashed after takeoff from Philadelphia. There were 4 crew members and 1 passenger who was a pediatric patient on board. Ugh.
Yeah, I read that. It was, I think a couple doctors were on board. I think that's what they're finding out.
Shame. It's just crazy.
Chat. Who's in it?
The YouTube chat.
To the hour, live from Studio 6B on a Friday night. Real America's Voice and across the airways of 103.9 LI News Radio. Glad you're in, everybody. Slick's doing sports. Rick Delgado's doing the news. Aaron and Fran holding it down on a Friday night. Hope everybody has a great weekend. Make sure you head over to livefromstudio6b.com. Check us out, all the old shows, all the old segments. Make sure you sign up to be a member there and follow us on all our social media at LFS6B, pretty much everywhere. On all socials, Truth, Getter, Facebook, Rumble, X, Kick, at LFS6B. Make sure you join us there as well. President Trump spending the weekend at Mar-a-Lago. We'll get back to the presser that he did in the Oval Office. A couple other clips I want to get to. One on reducing the federal workforce. And I've got actually a really good article on the Trump spending freeze. The reset that America needs, of course, what you're hearing from the media and all the Democrats is nothing but hair on fire gaslighting. So we'll get into that if we have time. But let's do some sports right now. Sports is brought to you by our friend Mike Lindell and MyPillow. LFS6B is the promo code to use if you shop at MyPillow. Slickster, what's going on?
All right, Big D. Well, due to that crash that happened the other night, obviously the sports world was affected. Wasn't on the show last night. I'm sure you guys talked about it, but hearts are heavy. 14 members of figure skating community among victims of D.C. plane crash. Athletes, coaches, and family members were returning from a camp. This is Jack Moore and Megan Forrester of ABC News. 14 members of the figure skating community, including some young athletes called the rising stars of the sport, are among the victims of the first major commercial plane crash in the United States since 2009, officials said. The Skating Club of Boston was devastated by the crash, according to Doug Zegbee, the club's CEO and executive director, who said 6 of the victims were from the Boston club, including 2 coaches, 2 teenage athletes, and 2 moms of athletes. Our sport and this club have suffered a horrible loss with this tragedy. Zegbee said skating is a tight-knit community where parents and kids come together 6 or 7 days a week to train and work together. Everyone is like family. We are devastated and completely at a loss for words. Zegbee identified the skaters from the Skating Club of Boston as Yinaha and Spencer Lane. Ha's mother, Yinhan, and Lane's mother, Christine Lane, were also on board. He identified the 2 coaches as Evgenia Shishkova and Vadim Numov. The 2 were 1994 World Pair champions who joined the club in 2017, Zegbee said. 6 is a horrific number for us, but we are fortunate and grateful it wasn't more than 6. Zegbee said this will have long-reaching impacts for our skating community. The figure skaters and coaches were returning from a training camp held in conjunction with the recent U.S. National Championships in Wichita, Kansas. They were aboard the American Airlines flight that collided with a Black Hawk helicopter near Reagan National Airport on Wednesday evening, officials said. No survivors were expected in the crash. Officials said Thursday there were 64 people aboard the plane and 3 in the helicopter, according to officials. Natalia Gudin, the wife of Alexander Krasnov, a coach of 2 youth ice skaters on board the flight, said she has lost everything in the crash. Gudin said also a skating coach decided to stay home in Delaware while Krasnov flew to Kansas for the development camp. She says she spoke with her husband as he boarded the flight on Wednesday. I lost my husband. I lost my students. I lost my friends. Gudin told ABC News, I need my husband back. I need his body back. The University of Delaware said Sasha Kirsanov, a former figure skating club coach who also skated, who was also on the airplane among 2 young skaters who were also members of the club. Our hearts go out to families and friends of the victims of this horrible tragedy, said the president of the University of Delaware, Dennis Asanis. So goes on to detail some of the other information. But the skating community was hit hard. Some of these may have been not only world champions, but potentially future Olympians, which is amazing. I mean, it's just a terrible tragedy, without a doubt, Rick. It's a very, very sad story. I wanted to get to that. And,
there was also some young Russian skaters on there as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
President Trump alluded to yesterday.
Yeah, I know. I know. I don't know if they had asked him if he had spoken to Vladimir Putin. When I saw that press conference yesterday, he said not as of yet on that, which means they must have spoke about something else, but they hadn't spoke about that. There was some question about the bodies being returned, and of course, the United States, I would hope, is going to do the right thing. I'm confident they'll do the right thing and do so. But our hearts and prayers are with everybody on that flight, all 64, including the crew there. But obviously, the sports world was affected, impacted by this as well. Big D, I'm sure there'll be a lot of stories that will unfold over the next days, weeks, and years regarding this situation with these 14 members of the skating community. And that's a wrap in sports.
I saw Nancy Kerrigan.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Famous Olympic skater. Obviously, everybody remembers her and Tanya Harding. Obviously, that whole ordeal. But I saw Nancy Kerrigan yesterday. I don't know if she was coaching certain number of these kids but she was just tore up, absolutely tore up.
According to some of the news reports, I guess some of the skaters were out of a club from Boston, which she's affiliated with, and I guess does some training with them. So yeah.
No, just devastating, absolutely devastating.
Yeah. All right, Slick, very good. Sports is brought to you by Mike Lindell. LFS6B is the promo code to use if you shop at MyPillow at checkout. Put in promo code LFS6B in the promo code box. It'll save you 50, 55, 60% off whatever you put in your cart most times. Great savings over there. MyPillow.com/LFS6B. Let's do some news. Rick Delgado's got the news. What's going on, Delgado?
All right. Well, aside from the unfortunate tragedies we've been reporting on, there's still winning going on, Damon. Believe it or not, Trump's ban of the intel officials who pushed Russian disinformation hoax, he's banning them also from federal buildings. So now they can't even go into a building. This coming out of Washington on the Daily Wire. President Donald Trump taking further action against those 51 former intelligence officials who falsely suggested Hunter Biden's laptop was part of Russian disinformation campaign, instructing agencies to also ban these individuals from stepping foot in secure U.S. government facilities. In a memo obtained by the Daily Wire, the January 29th memorandum, first obtained by the Daily Wire, expands Trump's day one executive order, which revoked the security clearance for the 50 individuals sent on behalf of the president. It orders the country's top security agencies to revoke unescorted access to secure U.S. government facilities from the former intel officials named in the executive order. These individuals no longer possess a need to access these secure facilities. As outlined in the executive order, they do not have the appropriate security clearances to access classified information as well, the memo states. And the list of individuals, Damon, you'll like this, includes some of the all-stars from that.
All 51 of them.
All 51 of them, including former CIA directors John Brennan, Michael Hayden, and Leon Panetta, who also at one time served as the Secretary of Defense. It also includes former National Intelligence Director James Clapper and mustache himself, John Bolton, the longtime lunatic who once served as a national security advisor to President Trump. So, like I said, inside some of the or besides some of the bad news we see coming out there, we still got winning going on, and it's coming from President Trump and his moves to make sure he cleans up Washington as best that he can.
Yeah, it's coming. There's a lot of winning going on still. I noticed this someone put out. It looks like the Department of State, when you go to the travel.state.gov website for travel, there's a section for LGBT travel. Well, now there's a section for LGB travel. There is no more T.
Wow.
And it looks like other departments are likely following suit. So that's interesting. And of course, part of the president's executive order, I saw today on defending women from gender ideology executive order, was for all federal employees to be removing idiotic pronouns from their official email signatures.
Thank God.
So that is going back to normal as well. So there's a lot of winning, and there's just a lot of seemingly common sense, at least going back to normal in places where this nonsense doesn't need to creep in.
Right. If you have to normalize something, I saw this written somewhere, if you have to normalize something, that means it wasn't normal to begin with.
That's right.
All right, hour 2 coming up live from Studio 6B. Stay tuned.
All right, Damon, an update to Richard Grenell's trip to Venezuela.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just 8 minutes ago, he secured the freedom of 6 Americans.
Yep, I saw that.
Nice.
So I'll have that as another news story. Jump to. Well,
no, that's what I led with last hour. I said to you, he came home with 6. What was the information surrounding them? I knew that part.
No, there was no information surrounding them.
Okay.
I guess it was just the headline that they put out, but they had no information yet.
Now you got the details.
Now we got the deets.
Now we got it.
All right, well, let's lead with that. We'll do some news at the top. Harry's doing what Harry does, send me stories that we've reported on like an hour ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What did he tell you? President Trump was just inaugurated?
not that bad, but close.
Okay. Eagles and Chiefs in the Super Bowl. He might have broke that one just now. That's coming up. My gosh. Harry Oates. Crackerjack reporting.
Harry Oates.
Where is Harry these days?
Well, he's somewhere watching us because he's sending me a picture of us on the TV.
Oh, man. Probably at a happy hour somewhere.
He's reading up on Kim Jong-un.
Kim Jong-un. Yep.
Are you boys in the chat? I don't have the chat in front of me, so.
Yeah. What's going on in the chat? Come on, what we got? They keep wanting Jargus Hunter, $5 super chat. Can you guys send a special shout out to my friend Rita Mapes of Kendallville, Indiana? She loves the show and battling severe chronic fatigue syndrome. Thanks. All right, Jargus Hunter.
Sorry to hear
Shout
that.
out to Rita Mapes of Kendallville, Indiana.
Now, is she watching
Yes.
YouTube? Or do we have
Fran, any leads on this music issue?
Did what I could. I hope she's
I've been down
watching
some
it
rabbit
here.
holes. None of them are helpful.
James Reed says that Rick Slick's wardrobe was brought to you by Pepto-Bismol. James Reed, a true fashion visionist there, that James Reed.
All right, hour two, live from Studio 6B on a Friday night, January 31st, Real America's Voice and across the airways of 103.9 LI News Radio. Glad you're in, everybody. Slick Rick's here. He's doing sports. Rick Delgado's doing the news. Aaron and Fran holding it down as always. Glad you're in on a Friday. Make sure you follow us on all our social media at LFS6B. Really helps us out. Go follow, hit the thumbs up, like, subscribe, comment, whatever you can do to interact with our social media as we continue to try to grow the numbers we appreciate. And of course, head over to liveFromStudio6B.com where we keep making improvements. Site's really looking good. It's got all of our all of our past shows, all of our merch, great news articles up to date, up to the second. So head over to livefromstudio6b.com. If you have a Facebook or Google account, you can sign up to be a member absolutely free in about 5 seconds. So you get on our email list. We send out coupons, free shipping, all kinds of great stuff. So head over to livefromstudio6b.com as well. All right, Slick's going to do sports in hour two. Delgado's going to do some news. Julio Rivera, Trump's spending freeze, the reset America needs. And all you've been hearing about the spending freeze is just gaslighting and scare. Julio says, conservatives from all over the USA, the moment you've been waiting for is now here. It's the Trump spending freeze, an act of executive frugality so seismic, so chilling, that it has sent shivers down the spines of bureaucrats from Washington to the farthest corners of the federal empire. Isn't that the truth? Yes, the gravy train has hit a sudden and screeching halt, and the nation now finds itself in a once-in-a-lifetime crossroads. Do we blindly scream in horror at the halt of unchecked spending, or do we take a deep patriotic breath and seize this as the greatest opportunity to reset our priorities before the entire federal apparatus eats itself into oblivion? Let's be honest. The federal government has long been an enthusiastic participant in the grand sport of financial self-sabotage. Whether it's trillion-dollar stimulus bills and they somehow fail to stimulate, or sprawling agencies whose sole mission appears to be justifying just their own existence, America has perfected the fine art of spending itself into the economic equivalent of a black hole. And now, at long last, the music under President Trump, for now, has stopped. The federal spigot is turned off, at least temporarily, and America has a golden opportunity to take stock of where taxpayer dollars are actually going. Spoiler alert, it's not all sunshine and national security. The newly anointed heroes here to assist President Trump, Elon Musk, and DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, were given their clear and resounding mandate from the American people in last November's election. The mission? To bring serious reform to the bloated, waste-laden system that has for decades operated with all the financial discipline of a Vegas bachelor party. So where do we start with the great America fat trimming? I'd say the governor of Chicago, but that's another story. The list is long and grim. Regulatory overreach slashed. Subsidies for industries that should have been profitable by now, gone. Legions of unqualified DEI box checkers, pack your bags. But let's be clear, some areas must remain sacred. For all the grandstanding over benign issues like imaginary man-made climate change, one of the greatest threats to America is ongoing massive cyber crisis, and it remains woefully underreported. Cyber criminals who seem to have a manpower advantage cost U.S. businesses and government agencies billions of dollars annually, and have even figured out how to hack into your Subaru and steal funds from your Juniper crypto wallet. And yet, instead of investing heavily in cybersecurity, we've funneled resources into agencies that seem far more concerned with monitoring mean tweets than protecting critical infrastructure. This is what must change. The Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Act needs its funding increased, not cut. In the private sector, where many businesses and individuals seek remote support for technical issues, non-technical administrators are often miscast as pseudo IT managers, despite the fact that they couldn't tell you the difference between security information and event management and managed detection and response. This puts businesses that handle sensitive data in harm's way. Investments in cyber defenses in both the private and public sector should be encouraged and even incentivized by the Trump administration in an effort to get small businesses to be proactive rather than reactive. American businesses cannot fail due to phishing email scams that seek to steal sign-in credentials or the plethora of ransomware gang running amok. Speaking of national security, let's talk about the elephant in the room, the U.S. military, and the fact that it needs a rebuild after the botched Afghanistan pullout of the Biden administration. The world watched as the U.S. left behind billions in military equipment, abandoned allies, and handed the Taliban a geopolitical victory that they couldn't have even dreamed of. That disgraceful exit was a national security disaster, and now somebody has to repair the damage. A spending freeze must not mean weakening our armed forces. On the contrary, the defense budget must be fortified to ensure that America remains a formidable global power. Investments in new technology, recruitment, and strategic operations are critical. Let's make one thing clear. National security isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. The hard truth is many of the people going home with an 8-month parachute were, to put it deliberately, accomplishing next to nothing for their reasonable government salary. America is notorious for keeping entire departments afloat that serve no tangible purpose beyond employing people to push papers from one desk to another. The era of jobs programs disguised as government agencies is coming to an end under President Trump, and frankly, it's long overdue. This is not the time for fear, folks. This is the time for bold action. Trump and DOGE have their mandate, and America has its moment. The only question that remains, will the consolidated power in the so-called DC swamp allow us to actually seize it? So there's a little bit about the spending freeze, the reset that America needs, at least according to Julio Rivera today in the American Thinker. What do you think about that, Delgado?
That's pretty good stuff right there.
Yeah.
Especially, when you talk about the fact that the swamp, is going to be kicking and screaming the entire time, and they've already started. Right, even before he took office, they were freaking out about Doge and the proposed cuts and what it might mean. But we all know what it means. It means that they'll lose power because all those lobbyists that funnel money to them won't have the guarantee of having their agendas passed because, well, there's a new sheriff in town, and he's not letting every blank check just go walking out the door the way they've been doing business. That's gotten us into the position we're in. There's a reason why they moved the doomsday clock from 90 seconds to 89 seconds. You see that the other day? They reset the doomsday clock. Why? Because we're that much closer to destroying ourselves. And that's some of the that's probably one of the paths that they're talking about is this unfettered spending by governments, where you basically put yourself into a position where you become a failed state, and that's where we were headed, unfortunately.
Well, I think that's the way Trump looks at this. I think he looks at it as not necessarily about stopping reckless spending. It's more about kind of reimagining what America can be. We have every advantage. We have the biggest advantage of any country in the world. We have all the natural resources in the world. We have a resilient workforce. We have everything, but we shackle ourselves with inefficiency, this bloated government that continues to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, complete financial irresponsibility no matter where you look across the government. So it's time to put a check on that. Someone has to address it. It's like the third rail of politics. No one wants to talk about $36 trillion in fiscal operating debt and running $1 trillion deficits and spending trillions every 100 days. It's absolute insanity.
Yeah, it's because it's Washington, and I take it back to Milton Friedman, where he has his 4 tenets of how you spend money. When you spend your money on yourself, you're very conscious of what you're spending it on. By the time you get to the 4th tenet, which is you're spending other people's money on other things for other people, you don't care because it's not your money. It's not your product. You don't get the benefit of that product. So you don't care what it costs because it's not yours. And that's where they are, where they just spend other people's money on other things that necessarily doesn't affect them. So they don't really care how much it costs or whether it even works to begin with. So it's frustrating. To regular people like ourselves. And then Trump was talking about, because they questioned him today at his, I guess, it wasn't really a press conference because he was there talking, but he just starts, doing a press conference. Here's cut number 6 because they were asking, of course, everybody's, freaking out over Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. Well, he had a good answer for it, and here it is. This is cut number 6. Here he is talking about those 3 things right here, cut 6.
But we're going to love and cherish Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. We're not going to do anything with that other than if we can find some abuse or waste, we'll do something, but the people won't be affected. It'll only be more effective and better. And as our country gets richer, the people on Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, those people are going to be more secure. If Biden had gotten elected, Social Security was going to fail because the country was failing. It was going to fail. The country was going to fail. And therefore, their Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and all of the other things that you may get would not be able to be paid. Our country's getting very strong, and you see it. I think more progress has been made in the last 2 or 3 weeks than has been made in the last 4 years.
Yeah. So, again, trying to stoke some of those, ease some of those fears that people might have because they hear freezing spend. And, of course, the Democrats and the mainstream media, they run out with the headlines. Oh, grandma's going to die because she's not going to get her check.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Did you say you had an update on Grenell?
Yes. Update on Rick Grenell. He's on his way back from Venezuela. I told you that part. Well, he's not coming back alone here, Damon. According to this, he went down there with a mission, and mission accomplished, as he has freed 6 Americans after meeting with Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. Of course, he was sent down there by President Trump. According to this, Grenell just tweeted out on X, "We are wheels up and headed home with these 6 Americans." They just spoke to @RealDonaldTrump, and they couldn't stop thanking him. And he also posted a picture, which you can find on thenewyorkpost.com. So 6 Americans coming home, and more bad guys heading back to Venezuela.
All right, live from Studio 6B, more to do. We're back with Sports with Slick coming up right after this.
Who's doing reads tonight?
David will do it.
I'll do them.
Got two.
Not
Not that you'll be able to hear the blues, apparently, but
Yeah, can't hear anything.
from what I'm gathering, it is
But
built
it still
into the noise processing of Skype that they have to enhance the voice enhancement and the noise filtration. They're including music in that. Unlike other programs like Zoom, there apparently is no way to turn it off, at least that I've found so far. And all questions about it to Microsoft to get booted down to like check your audio settings, and that's not the solution.
Have you tried?
The only solution I found so far was someone that stopped using his Windows 11 computer and used a Windows 8 computer, and it worked.
Hmm.
I don't know how that affect you because you're not on a Windows machine.
No, that's crazy. And I've heard the music through here before.
I know. It was working as of like a month ago with our Skype guests.
I didn't update Skype either.
So I don't know if it was something internally they've done. So I don't know. I haven't updated this machine either.
Chat. Chat.
I don't know. I was reading something. Let's see. Jumping over to the Rumblers. Man, we got almost 1,800 in the Rumble chat tonight. Dang!
Nice.
That is a growing community. Gotta love it.
It's a lot of Pizza Friday.
Sound like the blues. Let me talk to you about our friends over at Birch Gold. Increased tariffs on our trade partners, tax cuts, regulation changes. Learn why gold is a viable diversification tactic now more than ever. Birch Gold, the only gold company you need to trust, is releasing their ultimate guide for gold in the Trump era with a foreword written by Donald Trump Jr. To get your free copy along with Birch Gold's free information kit on gold, text the word America and send it to the number 989898. Here are the facts. The national debt continues to increase. Our interest payments on the national debt continue to increase. Gold is still your hedge against a weakened dollar. And Birch Gold is still the company you can trust to help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in gold. Text America to 989898 for your free copy of the ultimate guide to gold in the Trump era. There's no obligation, only information. Birch Gold has an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau, countless 5-star reviews, thousands of satisfied customers. You too can trust Birch Gold. Text the word America to the number 989898 and do it today. Well, while we may have won the election, the fight to restore our great nation is only beginning. Now's the time to take a stand, and Patriot Mobile is leading the charge. As America's only Christian conservative wireless provider, Patriot Mobile offers a way to vote with your wallet without compromising on quality or convenience. Patriot Mobile isn't just about providing exceptional cell phone service, it's a call to action to defend our rights and our freedoms. With Patriot Mobile, you'll get outstanding nationwide coverage because they operate on all 3 of the major networks. If you have cell phone service today, you can get cell phone service with Patriot Mobile, and you can get it with a coverage guarantee. The difference is every dollar you spend supports the First and Second Amendments, the sanctity of life, our veterans, and our first responders. Switching is easy. Keep your number, keep your phone, or you can upgrade. Their 100% U.S.-based customer service support team will help you find the perfect plan for you. Right now, go to patriotmobile.com/RAV, patriotmobile.com/RAV, or call 972-PATRIOT and get a free month of service with promo code RAV, R-A-V. Switch to Patriot Mobile today. Defend freedom with every call and text that you make. Visit patriotmobile.com/RAV or call 972-PATRIOT. All right, 19 past the hour, live from Studio 6B. Let's do some sports. Sports is brought to you by Mike Lindell. LFS6B is the promo code to use if you're going to shop at MyPillow. Go to mypillow.com/LFS6B for all the best deals for the LFS6B audience. Slickster's got sports. Slick, what's going on?
All right, Big D, we have to do some Friday night rodeo. We haven't done any rodeo in quite a while. Time to get back on track with that as the season is fired back into gear. We have the Fort Worth Stock Show and Rodeo going on from January 24th through February 8th down in Fort Worth, Texas, Dickies Arena. We are in the 4th round, actually bracket number 3 and second round, bracket number 4, second round. A lot of brackets here. We got more brackets than the NCAA finals. But here we go, Big D. Bareback riding. Here we go. We get second round. Jacob Lee's 88.5 points on Three Hills Tarnished Silver. Man, I'm trying to get myself fired up easy in the control room over there. Let's go. Here we go. Number 3, Stetson Jurgensen and Galvin Soul. 4 seconds flat steer wrestling. We're going to go to the team roping. And we also have Dustin Eggersqueezer and Levi Goodlord. 3.6 seconds. Saddle Bronc. 4th round. Bracket number 2. Brody Wells, 88 points on Smith Row Rodeo's Angel Cat picked up $2,300. Tie down roping. We have Chance Ofethol, 8.1 seconds. And then we're going to go to barrel racing. Again, 4th round. And we got Emily Beisel, 16.26 tenths. And last but not least, bull riding. And we have Jax Mills, 87 points on TNT Pro Rodeo's Ozone Baby, $3,750. $224,499 purse, and that would be the big time Fort Worth Stock Show and Rodeo in Dickies Arena. We'll have another wrap on that on Monday night. Keep you up to date with that. What's going on in the rodeo? Back to rodeo. Former Leah Thomas opponents share abuse push Georgia lawmakers to pass trans athlete in women's sports ban. We all were just guinea pigs for a giant social experiment formed by the NCAA regarding how much abuse and blatant disregard women would be forced to take in silence, one woman said. This is Jackson Thompson of Fox News. A Georgia State Senate committee passed the Fair and Safe Athletic Opportunities Act Thursday after testimony from multiple female athletes who have competed against and shared locker rooms with transgender athletes. The bill would require athletes to participate on teams that align with their biological sex at birth. If it is signed to law, Georgia will become the 26th state in the U.S. to have a law in place to prevent or restrict transgender athletes from competing in women's sports. Georgia has been a prime frontier for this issue after the state hosted the 2022 NCAA Women's Swimming Championships, which included transgender swimmer Leah Thomas. 2 of Thomas's former opponents testified at Thursday's state congressional hearing. Former North Carolina State women's swimmer Kaylee Ailins, a 31-time All-American and 2-time NCAA champion, spoke about the experience competing against and sharing a locker room with Thomas. We all were just guinea pigs for a giant social experiment formed by the NCAA regarding how much abuse and blatant disregard women would be forced to take in silence, Alon said. Alon's recounted the emotions she felt sharing competitive areas with Thomas and how much sadness she felt watching women lose out on chances to compete fairly at the event. Alon's even said she wanted to cry and leave the event after seeing Thomas win the 500-meter freestyle. It all just felt so off and wrong, she said. Things got so much more difficult for Lyons after she experienced sharing a locker room with Thomas. I go to the locker room that day only to see Thomas and realize there is no escape from this nightmare. No matter where I go, I had no idea he was going to be allowed in the women's locker room, as we did not consent to have a man in our locker room, Lyons said. This is crazy. But she went on to detail, I am immediately on edge every time I enter that locker room afterward, knowing at any moment a man could walk in on me changing. Lyons added she felt so uncomfortable, she resorted to abandoning the locker room altogether and instead changing in a storage closet behind the bleachers. Former University of Kentucky swimmer Caitlin Wheeler joined Lyons in recounting the experience of sharing a locker room with Thomas. Young women, teenage girls were forced to undress next to a fully intact biological male who exposed himself to us while we were simultaneously fully exposed, Wheeler said. We were never asked, we were never given a choice or another option. We were just expected to be okay with it, shove down our discomfort, our embarrassment, our fear, because standing up for ourselves would mean being labeled as intolerant or hateful or even bigoted. So really, it just goes on to detail the situation they were through. Hopefully, with the new administration and the way life is going at the federal level, this will obviously go all the way down to the lower state level, and then this will get aborted and no longer be allowed in women's sports once and for all. And I'm sure the Olympics will be a great place for this to be championed when we have this in LA in 2028. And that's a wrap in sports. Big D, back to you.
All right, Slick, very good. Sports is brought to you by Mike Lindell. LFS6B is the promo code to use. I know we don't have a ton of time here to get into news, so let me just bring your attention to one headline I saw today that I actually had to go look for the actual article to make sure it was real, because the person who posted it just posted a screenshot of the title. Pacific Palisades rebuilding, where this fire just ripped through, one of LA's most exclusive areas, right? All these beautiful $1 million homes.
Yep.
Pacific Palisades rebuilding must include low-income Section 8 housing,
of course,
according to Los Angeles city law. Housing and land use experts say a Los Angeles city law could require the Pacific Palisades to include affordable housing to replace older buildings and for new buildings where owners cannot definitively prove that their rental apartments had no low-income renters in the past 5 years. This is an area that's Dem plus 43, so I guess you get the government you vote for.
KDJ checking in, sending a text. LFS6B fans, Patriot Jenny and Don from PA are visiting him at his gig, at his comedy gig.
Nice.
Yeah, we've got some LFS6B people out in Pennsylvania visiting Kevin Downey Jr. doing a stand-up act. Good for him. Tell him we said hello. Going back to the chat. What's going on the Twix chat now? Oh, we're over 2,000. We're at 2,700 there. Arm Brooke is in there.
Yeah.
Allison Lee Barton is in there. Renee. Pigpen. Tree Finder. Who Dat Nation.
Who dat?
Nation. Sweet Potato. Dave Syverson. Wilder 7BC.
Okay, I think I'm able to get the. Okay.
Where in PA is KDJ? You know what? That's a good question. Damon, Did you remember where he said he was?
I think he said he was at Parks Casino.
Parks Casino. That's
Parks Casino. Where's that? In the Philly area?
$10 super chat from Sin Cat.
by Philly.
I believe it. How it's pronounced.
It's in
Doesn't say
Bensalem,
anything.
Pennsylvania.
Which is where? We don't.
Child of the King, I want to gift memberships. I know. There's just unfortunately no way to do it.
Yep.
Not available on our channel. I don't know why. $967 of you on YouTube. Make sure you hit the. Where's the? How many likes do we have? 293.
Okay.
967 viewers and 293 likes. That's kind of low, isn't it?
It's kind of normal. I think.
All right, 30 minutes past the hour, live from Studio 6B on a Friday night. Real America's Voice and across the airways of 103.9 LI News Radio, Long Island, New York. Glad you're in, everybody. Slick's doing sports. Delgado's got some more news coming up. Aaron and Fran holding it down. We were just, before we went to commercial break, all these Pacific Palisades houses now look like there's some law, at least in the Washington Examiner reporting today, that they may have to put Section 8 housing to be able to rebuild in some of these areas.
Yeah.
This is an area that's Dem plus 43.
Yeah,
And you wonder
very
if,
exclusive.
Yeah, and you wonder if that continues. If this is, I mean, again, I don't know the minutia of all of it, where and how, but talk about a double whammy. Golly.
Well, you'll see all the rich and powerful say, yeah, no, that's not going to happen. Here's some money to make that go away. I guarantee it. They're not going to have Section 8 housing there. Because it's NIMBY, not in my backyard. They don't mind the policy. They love the policy for everybody else. But when you get to the exclusives, you know, compared to us knuckle draggers, no, that's for you guys. That's not for us here in the Pacific Palisades. Oh my goodness, never. No, that's not for them. It's not in their backyard. Sure, they agreed to the policy. They probably thought, it's never going to happen anyway. Yeah, throw it in. And now that they see it could possibly come and come back to bite them, you watch, that policy is probably going to get changed, or they're going to find some reason why. Well, we weren't able to find a sufficient area to make there's going to be some. The rich people won't let it happen. They don't want them in their area.
All right, let's do some news, Delgado, since you launched in.
Yeah,
news is brought to you by Freedom Force Nutrition, available live from studio6b.com on the homepage. What's going on?
Let's talk more about stupid liberals, shall we? As every single DNC chair candidate says Kamala lost, you guessed it, due to racism and misogyny. Yeah, of course she did.
Of course.
The committee's final chair candidate forum, which was hosted today by MSNBC at Washington, D.C.'s Georgetown University, featured former presidential candidate Marianne Williamson, former Maryland Governor Martin O'Malley, DNC Vice Chair Ken Martin, Wisconsin Democrat Party Chair Ben Wickler, former Bernie Sanders campaign manager Faz Shakir, and a bunch of other losers. We don't really know who they are.
I don't think this was today. I think this was held. Yeah, okay. Was it yesterday?
Yeah, yesterday.
I saw. I wish it was on YouTube. I can't find it, but I saw somebody on TV. I was watching something today. Maybe it was Fox. I don't remember. Put together a compilation of this event. Oh, man, just keep it up there, boys and girls. Just keep it up. Just keep doing what you're doing, and we'll be sailing through 28 as well, because they have learned absolutely nothing.
Yeah, and here's one of the things that they did not learn. MSNBC host Jonathan Capehart also believes it was all racism that led to it, and he put it to the panel himself. Here's cut number 9. Take a look.
Is he crying?
I have a show of hands. How many of you believe that racism and misogyny played a role in Vice President Harris's defeat?
Every hand goes up. Of course.
Of course.
Okay.
Losers.
Okay.
So, that's good. You all pass.
That's good. He says that's good. Yeah. Keep it up.
Yeah, they haven't learned a damn thing.
One of the candidates is some chick named Quintessa Hathaway. You see her?
No.
Oh.
She did some spontaneous singing.
Oh, that's awesome.
On diversity, equity, and inclusion. She was basically campaigning and focusing on that during her speech to the gathering there. And I'm watching this going, oh man, just keep it up through 28. They leave there thinking that they're going to run Harris again. I'm telling you, that's what they're thinking. They think she can win in 28.
They probably do. They thought she could win in 24.
Yeah.
So,
it's great news. It's just great news for us.
Nothing is surprising. Social media users were quick to point out that the consensus meant that, as we've just said, Democrats didn't learn anything from their November 2024 loss. Senator Tommy Tuberville said he's already looking forward to expanding our majority in 2026. While DNC leaders continue to push the narrative that American voters chose Trump over Harris due to sexism and racism, 40% of women under 30 went for the Republican candidate as opposed to the Democrat one. So there you have the DNC chair election. It's going to be held, at the party's winter meeting in National Harbor, Maryland, tomorrow, according to ABC News. So tomorrow we'll have a new DNC DNC chairhead for the Democrat National Party. So there you have it. What else is going on? Let's jump over to the media, cut number 10. And again, you talk about the meltdowns that this administration is forcing Democrats to have. It's amazing and fun and glorious to watch as now, of course, the media is melting down because, the Trump administration said they're starting to fire FBI leaders, and, they're not very happy about that. That's part of their lifeline. That's part of their power base for the media is having the intel communities on their side and doing their bidding. Here's cut number 10. Check this out.
Happening. It can only be described as the start of a massive, much larger than expected purge at the FBI of FBI agents and officials. Many of them, in one way or another, touched the investigations into Donald Trump. Sources telling NBC News this: the Office of Acting Deputy Attorney General Emil Bove asked the FBI for a list of Bureau employees involved in January 6 cases, sparking panic inside the Bureau by people who fear retribution by the Trump administration amidst an ongoing purge of FBI leadership. Meanwhile, my colleague, NBC's Ken Delanian, reports that several top FBI executives were told to resign or be fired, and that the purge includes more than 20 heads of FBI field offices, including those in Miami and Washington, D.C.
Yeah. So there you have it. And you got to start at the top and start whittling them down and get to the guys that are actually doing the jobs on the ground that know how to lead these particular agencies. So it just continues, which is good to see. And this cut number 11, you talk about the loser Democrats. I guess there was a group of about 9 or 10 of them protesting outside of Trump Tower today in New York City. And one of the native New Yorkers came by and let his feelings on their stupidity, let it be known to them exactly how he felt. Check this out as this New Yorker, cut number 11, unloads on these protesters in front of Trump Tower.
You're a woke idiot. You're a woke idiot. You're all woke idiots. I got a job. I got money. You're laughing, jerk. Standing in front of a building. You a hypocrite. You're a jerk. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9 jerk.
Just another day in New York City, Damon.
There you go.
What did he call him, Rick?
Just another day in New York City.
Exactly.
Hey, let's get to another clip from the Trump. Let's get to another clip from the Trump in the Oval Office today. He was asked about the federal workforce. And again, you know, this, I think it was this girl from NBC just asking question after question after Kelly O'Donnell. I think it was Kelly O'Donnell. Okay, even if we don't have time for the whole thing. Trump on the federal workforce. Aaron, run a little bit of that.
With efforts to reduce the federal workforce, whether it's offering what we've called the buyout package or other efforts, do you have any concerns that there will be employees broadly across the federal government who might take that up? And they're a part of the many different ways that agencies protect the public, from food inspections to water safety to
I know,
the air
but
traffic
everybody's
controllers.
replaceable, and we'll get very good people to replace them if it turns out to be more than we thought. It could be a lot, it could be a little, we don't know, but we'd love to have them leave. We're trying to remember this. We want them to go into the private sector. It's our dream to have everybody almost working in the private sector, not in the public sector. We have many people, very few people came to work. They were, you know, it started more or less with COVID, but actually even before COVID. But it started with the COVID, they didn't come back. And then Biden let them get away with murder, and they, you know, we had federal workforce, like 4% coming into the office. And that just doesn't work. You know, people can say it does, but it doesn't work. You have to be unified in a group in the office. It's just, it was crazy. You don't know what they're doing. And then at some point we may ask them to certify that they didn't have two jobs, meaning were they really getting a check from us, the government, and then were they also working a second job and a third job, and, you know, on government time. And many of them will say that they did, you know, which is not legal, but it's a problem. It's a problem. No, we want to get that out. We want to clean it out. You know, people have been trying to reduce federal government now for 40 years, 45 years, and they haven't been able to do it. And this is a way of doing it, I think, very nicely. It's sort of a buyout, too. I think we're treating people very good, but people don't come to the office. They won't have a job starting on that very special date. So we'll see how that works out. I mean, nobody knows how that's going to turn out. Everybody might show up to the office and maybe a large number won't show up. But if they don't show up, we've accomplished a very serious goal. We're trying to reduce government.
Does Mr. Musk or any of those associated with your DOGE effort, do they have any direct access through the government systems to how money is dispersed?
No, nothing. No, they are. This has nothing to do also with the federal cutting, you know, with this federal cutting. This is very separate. This is if you don't show up, you don't get paid. But DOGE, I think great progress has been made. We're talking about cutting over $1 trillion of waste. We're talking about waste. We're not talking about we're going to love and cherish Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. We're not going to do anything with that other than if we can find some abuse or waste, we'll do something, but the people won't be affected. It'll only be more effective and better. And our country, as our country gets richer, the people on Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, those people are going to be more secure. If Biden had gotten elected, Social Security was going to fail because the country was failing. It was going to fail. The country was going to fail. And therefore, the Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and all of the other things that you may get would not be able to be paid. Our country's getting very strong, and you see it. I think more progress has been made in the last 2 or 3 weeks than has been made in the last 4 years. I think not only has more progress been made in the last 4 years, it's, I'll call it deprogress. We went way backward as a country in so many different ways, from woke to all of the other things that took place that were so bad. You look at Afghanistan, how embarrassing that was. I think Afghanistan really started the problem with Russia and Ukraine. When Putin looked over and he saw how incompetently that was handled, I was getting out, but I was going to keep Bagram. Right now, China has Bagram. I was going to keep one of the biggest air bases in the world. They left it. But I was, other than Bagram, I was going to get out. And I wasn't keeping Bagram for Afghanistan. I was keeping it for China because it's 1 hour away from where China makes its nuclear weapons. And we were keeping it. So we have a lot of great things happening in our country, and we appreciate that you're here. And I'm really thrilled about Doug, and I'm really thrilled about his friend Chris.
All right, Aaron,
Wright,
that's good. That was kind of towards the end of it, but you get the idea on the federal workforce reductions. There's no reason to be gaslighting the American people about this freeze in spending and the buyouts, and this is what we're trying. This is what he was sent there to do.
Yeah.
All right, we'll wrap it up. A little more sports and news live from Studio 6B on a Friday night right after this.
All right, another super chat, Big D, Child of the King. I don't know if you saw. Damon Kenya H says, please let Damon know to click the 3 dots up in right corner to activate gift giving. I don't know what the 3 dots are in the upper right corner. You seeing that?
If I could share my screen, I would let you know. Okay. I saw that. I looked it up in a video myself. The option is not made available for us. When I go up there, 3 dots, there is no choice to allow gifts. I know what she's talking about. I saw the video on how to do it. I was looking to do it. It's not there.
Yep. I look on ours. I don't see anything either. So
it is not there.
So in the YouTube, Mike and Karen from Wichita, Kansas, watch the show every night. Shout out to them. Wichita, Kansas.
Okay.
Some more stuff coming out on this plane crash. Huh? Some people on the ground running out in flames. It's very graphic video, huh? Wow.
Yeah, we can't show.
It's amazing though, the stuff that's coming out, right?
Yeah. Well, it happened. It happened like 6:30, 7 o'clock.
Yeah,
on a busy Friday night in a neighborhood.
Yeah, I wonder what the casualties on the ground will be. They probably won't have that till the morning. But man, that plane literally was a dive bomb.
It really did look that.
I mean, just incredible. I've never seen anything lose altitude like that so quickly. Terrible. It's 2 on the East Coast, huh?
Wow, last break coming up.
Yes, sir.
Dang.
All right, 13 to the hour, live from Studio 6B on a Friday night. Hope you have a great weekend, everybody. We always appreciate you being part of the show, giving us a few hours, Monday through Friday, 8 to 10 p.m. right here, Real America's Voice, and, of course, on the airways of 103.9 LI News Radio. Make sure you download the LI News Radio app as well. Plus, I think you can ask your Alexa just to play 103.9 LI News, and you can hear us that way as well. Slick's doing sports. Rick Delgado's doing the news. We'll do both here to wrap it up for a Friday night. We'll start with sports. Sports is brought to you by our good friend Mike Lindell and, of course, MyPillow. MyPillow.com/LFS6B is the place to go if you're going to shop for Valentine's Day or something coming up. You need a present for somebody. MyStore.com, MyPillow.com. Use promo code LFS6B at checkout. Slickster, give me one last sports report. What's going on?
All right, one last sweep of the scoreboard for tonight. Here we go. NCAA men's basketball. Right now, Indiana leads Purdue 62-58, 7 to go there in the second half. 1 second to go in the first half. You got Marist leading Siena 33-26. Final from earlier tonight, Yale 77-70 over Princeton, and Georgetown downs Butler 73-70. Dayton over St. Louis 71-63. Akron 85, Kent State 71. NHL Sabres 4-3 over the Predators. Just a little over a minute to go there in regulation. End of 2. The Stars over the Canucks 2-1. Avalanche blanking the Blues. 34 seconds to go in the first. 4-0. No score. Blue Jackets and Utah Hockey Club at the end of 1. NBA action. The Nuggets of Denver leading the Sixers 117-111. 5 to go there in the fourth. Also in the fourth, Bulls over the Raptors 119-101. Celtics lead the Pelicans 93-89. 10 to go there in the fourth. And with 3.5 to go in the third, Spurs 100 Bucks 91. Get to a quick story, if I may. Yep, you go. Rob Gronkowski on referees favoring the Chiefs. There's something. Oh, Gronkowski weighing in. Dylan Gwynn of Breitbart. This is getting interesting. The community of supposed conspiracy theorists who remain convinced NFL officials show favoritism to the Chiefs is growing. Rick, listen up now. The Chiefs are on their way to their third consecutive Super Bowl. However, after 2 consecutive playoff games full of highly controversial calls that all went Kansas City's way, and 12 postseason games demonstrating favoritism going back to the 2021 playoffs. Like most modern conspiracy theories, this one is starting to look a lot less like a theory and more like reality. Though to show he's not immune to the charge of favoritism being lobbed at his own New England dynasty, the former Patriot tight end and Tom Brady's favorite target confessed that even his quarterback received some leniency from the officials. It was Tom.
You think?
Yeah, just a little, right? It was Tom, but he deserved it at the time. He was an 18-year vet, and he took his punishment as a young buck during his first 8 years in the league, Gronk said in a recent interview with Fox News Digital. Oh, my Lord, he used to get lit up. It was understandable he got calls. However, when it comes to the Chiefs, Gronk sees the ref as being definitely more lenient towards Kansas City. It's been shown throughout the regular season and extending into the playoffs. Gronk said. The future Hall of Famer later added, I just feel like there's something, like maybe give them an extra call or two. Don't make it too obvious, but make it a little obvious. Oh boy. While allowing for the possibility of favoritism, Gronk did not let that stand as an excuse for their opponents. You have opportunities to beat them. You got to overcome all situations, and the Buffalo Bills need to make championship plays in championship moments, and they didn't come through. You got to make plays in order to beat the Chiefs, and you can't blame it on the refs. Gronk insisted.
Exactly. Just like they did. That's why it's so funny coming from Gronk, because Gronk and Brady did what nobody else seems to be able to do. They beat them in the big spot, the two of them.
Yep.
So what the hell's he talking about? The Chiefs have found a way to beat everybody else.
They got more calls than a mom on Mother's Day back in that time, Big D. You know that. Come on now. You know.
Come on.
I know. What do you want? There's old Gronk. But we'll see. I'll tell you, though, we're ashamed if the refs have to go out of their way not to give a call that the Chiefs may deserve come this big game in the final moments, right? The pressure may be on the Zebras. So we'll see how this goes. But I think the Chiefs have earned it. They're a great dynasty. I don't want to see them win 3 in a row. If they do, I'm going to take my hat off to them. But, I think I'm going to go with Philly. As much as I don't like Philly either, at least the game will be played in a neutral site. So we'll see. Big D's liking the green. He's liking the green that game. So we'll see. Anyway, that's a wrap in sports. Big D, back to you.
All right, Slick. Very good. Sports is brought to you by Mike Lindell, MyPillow. Let's do a little more news before we wrap it up, Delgado. What else is going on? I haven't seen any other updates on this plane.
No, me either. So I'll refrain from just repeating what we talked about earlier. Instead, I've got a couple other good things to close out with. As a reporter asked, basically the best press secretary we've seen in the last 4 years, Caroline Leavitt, about Trump's use of a certain word during his remarks the other day. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt asked during Friday's press briefing about President Trump's use of profanity while making public remarks just the day before. If you want to see it for yourself, well, of course you do. It is cut number 12. Here he is, President Trump, talking about Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, or as we like to call him, the Booty Juice. Cut number 12. Check this out.
I assume maybe this is the reason. The FAA, which is overseen by Secretary Pete Buttigieg, A real winner. That guy's a real winner. Do you know how badly everything's run since he's run this Department of Transportation? He's a disaster. He was a disaster as a mayor. He ran his city into the ground, and he's a disaster now. He's just got a good line of bullshit. The Department of Transportation, his government agency charged with regulating civil aviation. Well, he runs it. 45,000 people, and he's run it right into the ground with his diversity.
Yeah. So there it was. The I was even caught off guard. I was like, wow, okay.
Yes.
What's wrong with that? He's right on the money.
Yep.
Yeah, it's the same expletive he used in the East Room in 2020. The reporter asked Levitt. Go ahead.
Sometimes you just have to. It just firms up the point that much better. I'm sorry. I know people get offended and whatever. I get it, but sometimes you just have to, because look at the room you're dealing with.
Yep.
Right.
You got to beat around the
Just cut
bowl.
to the chase of what it is.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, what do you call it? Greg Gutfeld did the same this afternoon on the 5. He used the same expletive. The reporter asked Levitt to shed any light on the use of the public profanity, which is a practice, blah, blah, blah. Does he record it, whatever? Does he have any regrets? And, of course, Levitt responded, I think one of the things that the American people love most about this president is that he often says what they are thinking, but sometimes lacks the courage to say it themselves. So there you have it, her response to that reporter's question regarding that. And one last story here, Damon, something close to home. I don't know if you caught this. Long Island man is behind bars after allegedly posing as a law enforcement officer and walking into a county office with multiple firearms and fraudulent police credentials. His name is John Galifianakis. Check this guy out.
Look at that
He
guy.
was arrested entering Department of Social Services building, falsely claiming to be a police officer and asking for help safeguarding a firearm. He was in the possession of multiple fake law enforcement identification cards, firearms, and police-related apparel. Also charged with criminal possession of a weapon, including forgery. I don't know if you take a look at his picture once again, it looks like he was trying to pass himself off as George Washington or something.
Exactly.
Yeah, he was. He's known as homeless and is facing a slew of charges. Based on his acts the other day, he'll be arraigned in the First District Court in Hempstead, New York. So there you have it. A little local news. That guy's a little creepy. He's like a.
I think a little checkup in the neck up there for whatever you said his name was is due, because if you're going to try to play cop, one building you might not want to walk into would be a federal gun.
Say, hey, can you watch this gun for me?
Can you? Oh man!
Yeah, so
there you have it. Pretty crazy, right there.
That's the news from the weird-looking George Washington wannabe guy.
All right, as always, we salute our military, active and inactive, police, firefighters, first responders, EMTs, everybody on the front lines, all emergency personnel, all our truckers, all our farmers, everybody that keeps the country moving. Have a great weekend, everybody. Appreciate you being here each and every night, 8 to 10. Have a great weekend. Thanks to the guys on the show. Aaron, Fran, great job as always. Most of all, thank you to Live from Studio 6B audience. We'll see you Monday night, 8 p.m. right here, live from Studio 6B.